Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Doctor Who and Autism series. Today, I'm Jill with Josh, and today we're going to be speaking about Doctor Who and autism. So, thanks, Josh, for joining me today.
No props.
Yeah. So, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, I'm Josh, also known as Gallifrey Stands on TikTok, although not on there great at the moment. Need to get back on. Being a big fan of Doctor Who since it came back with Rose 2005. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So, what did you like? So, speaking of that episode, do you think that was a really good episode, Rose?
It's not the best, but I think what it does do well is it brings it kind of restarts Doctor Who really well, and it introduces all the kind of main concepts, and I think it's a really good kind of jumping on point. Especially if you are like me at the time, a completely new fan who's never even heard of the show, perhaps. But I think it would have been, there would have been old fans as well who would have enjoyed it. So I think it's a good kind of middle ground.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Like me. It was the first time I ever watched Doctor Who that episode, so it is a good way to bring the people back, and I did like that. Like we didn't see the Doctor till like a bit into the episode, not straight away.
Yeah, and I think it was important to do that, and I think Moffat has said, hasn't he, that Doctor Who's more about the companion than the Doctor itself, and it's a clever way to focus on Rose for what was it, like 20 minutes or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was really cool.
yeah, it was good. Like because the Doctor didn't really do much in that episode, really. Um, he didn't really save anyone. It was more Rose who did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suppose that's why they call it Rose, the episode.
Well, I suppose, like I say, she's the main character. She's the one that if you had watched it before, she's the new person that will be introduced to it. People know the Doctor. So yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I think it works well because it obviously caught my attention because here I am, however many years later, still obsessed. So
Yeah. It is kind of a fixation, Doctor Who, I think, and um, like you can't stop talking about it, really. Um, I find.
well, yeah, and I think I was thinking about this before we came on, and that the show will be off air for however many months, but you've got so much other stuff, Big Finish, comics, books, whatever it might be, to kind of take in that it's never kind of away like other shows might be.
Yeah,
So I think it's difficult to kind of get away from it almost, isn't it?
it is important that they do have those breaks, because like it's not like a soap. It like I think you get bored if it was like a soap, like on every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not the big. I used to be a good fan of watching the soaps when growing up, but I'm not now. um,
I've never been a fan myself.
yeah. Well, I suppose I only watched it because if family was watching it all the time, and you can't really get out of it. um, but yeah, I would like Doctor Who more often, but not all the time.
I think, like you say, you don't want to run the risk of fatigue. You don't want it on all the time, and then it gets boring or it loses. There's only so many stories they can tell. So I think I would like them to go back to 12 episodes a year or 13 episodes a year or whatever. But as long as we're getting at least 8 a year, I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I think it would be nice to go back to the normal like schedule um, every year. Um, and I don't think because I would like it to go back to Saturdays as well,
I was just thinking that.
um, and Christmas specials.
See, I'm a bit. I don't mind the New Year specials. I would prefer them to be on Christmas because it's the tradition almost. But I think with it being a Christmas special, you almost are forced to have some sort of Christmas theme.
Yeah,
And I think if you look at some of the Christmas specials, it feels a little bit forced. It feels a little bit silly. Um, like the best Christmas special for me is Voyage of the Damned,
yeah,
which doesn't really have, other than the fact that it's set at Christmas, doesn't really have anything Christmassy in it. I guess the angels at a push.
mm,
But like, I think that's good because it doesn't have that overly Christmassy focus. Whereas if you look at ones like A Christmas Carol, for example, feels a little bit cheesy.
Yeah.
So I think having it on New Year almost gives them the opportunity to move away from that and just make a special that's enjoyable and doesn't need to be kind of restricted by that.
But yeah, like I don't think it should be like that. Like you say, the Voyage of the Dam was a great episode, but I also know some people can get offended by that episode too. Um, I only prior because I spoke to people that like I still have like family members like from the Titanic, and it is like a Titanic
Mm.
set episode, isn't it? But but yeah, I do love that episode. Um, the the best moment in that episode was well for me was when the doctor said, "Take me to your leader." I did like that scene.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the whole, to the Titanic concept, I think it's difficult though with a show that goes back in time, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's gonna be crossing points all the time that are gonna affect some people and not others. If you look at Rosa, for example, um, that's that may have had a massive impact on anyone that's watching that, um, you know, perhaps is part of that heritage or whatever.
mm,
Um, but at the end of the day, I think you can't skirt around it. You can't avoid it. Sometimes I think sometimes it's better to focus on it and but do it in a respectful way if you can.
yeah,
But it is tough. I can see
yeah,
it's tough.
it is tough because like with the Titanic episode, like it's almost like when it's going to the Earth, it's like it's sinking to some people that
Mm.
are focusing on it more of like personally maybe. Um, but yeah, I was being the Rosa Parks episode. I really like that episode. It's probably one of my favourites under Jodie, um, of mine because it's good when you have those sort of episodes, not just focusing on the monsters all the time, just focusing on events.
I think I like the episode. I think I would, if I was to change it, I'd have gotten rid of the whole. I can't remember his name now. The guy that travels in time and the villain. I think I'd have gotten rid of him and just had a, because we've not had one in. I don't think we've had one in the modern series at all. Like a pure historical that's just the villain is the humans, and do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
and it would have been so easy to do that episode where the enemy is just the police and is just kind of racism. Um, but for some reason they decided we still needed an alien, we still needed sci-fi,
mm,
and I don't think we did. But yeah, it's a great episode, and I think as a history teacher, I use it to show. I use that clip on the bus to show what happened and how it affected people, and it's really well done historically wise. So
yeah, yeah. It's good you're using that in lessons.
I, as a Whovian, I will try and shoehorn in Doctor Who wherever I can. And it's slightly easier as a history teacher, believe it or not, because we're always learning about things that has been in the show at some point or another. So I'm like, here's an episode, here's a clip.
Yeah, because I think the history episodes are the best, aren't they, in Doctor Who?
Yeah, and more so, like I say, for me as a historian, it's exciting to go, oh, I know about this and I know the history, and so they're going to come across this person from history or this event or whatever. So yeah, I much prefer them to the kind of futuristic ones.
Yeah, yeah. Like you got like the Get on the Fireplace episode. That's one of my favorites as well. Like with David Tennant, it's really good because it's that's a really good like history episode too. So um, they are. I think we should like there should be more of them. Like not focusing like because it's more been like Earth based like at the moment in Doctor Who. So it'd be nice to do something different.
Yeah, I think it's easier, isn't it, to do futuristic because you can reuse sets, you can reuse costumes and stuff. Whereas with a past one, you've got to make it period accurate and all of that sort of stuff. But I think it does make for a good episode because it's just a little bit more. There's something more to it. There's something more because then you can go and look into that. You can tell, okay, well, I want to know more about that person or that event or whatever. and so it kind of piques your interest a bit more than fiction, completely fiction, for me anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I think there should be um like more kind of stuff like that, and like I love it when they go into space and they do all those kind of episodes. Um, spend like I got like I just like that kind of stuff, and I know you have to go to present day Earth sometimes, um, but knowing that Doctor Who is a sci-fi program where you don't have to live on Earth, you can go back to like the plague or something like that, and or you could go back into a million trillion years in the future and see what's happening then.
Hmm. Well, I mean, if you look at the very first run with the first Doctor, um, with like Barbara, Susan, and Ian, um, they don't go back to like the era that they come from for a really long time. Um, like the whole kind of concept is they're trying to get Barbara and Ian back, and they fail for a really long time. So it goes to, I think it's like 2.5 seasons or something. Um, and it just goes to show you we don't need. Actually, I don't think it's as long as that, but either way, we don't need an Earth story. We don't need to go back to kind of the era that they've come from
Yeah,
every 4 or 5 episodes.
yeah, yeah. Like it is like unless like a companion wanting to go home or something like that, that you can do it like that. But um, it is it's just nice to go to visit different planets because that's what Doctor Who's about. They could like it can invent a made up planet if they wanted, and I'll go to like a made up planet. Like so, it's something that would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly like to see more of it and explore the universe a bit more.
Yeah, because they could even bump into someone from a different universe because that's what Doctor Who kind of want to do now. I think go explore more different universes, I suppose. Um,
Yeah, it's not really something that we've seen a lot of in Doctor Who. I mean, we saw it a little bit with kind of series 2, didn't we, in
yeah,
Pete's World. Um, but there's not been a lot of multiversal stuff. But I do think you run the risk of kind of doing what everyone else is doing. Marvel are doing it at the moment, and everyone's sort of following in that multiverse idea. I think that you do run the risk of just becoming part of what everyone else is doing.
yeah,
But I
yeah,
guess we'll see. I mean, from what I've seen of, without spoiling anything, from what I've seen of kind of rumors and set pictures and things from the 60th, it looks a little bit like that could be the case with what David Tennant's looking like, and
yeah,
so I guess we'll see.
yeah. The 60th is it's gonna be exciting.
It
Um,
looks excellent.
yeah,
So I mean, it's Russell T Davies, so we can only hope, but we'll see, I suppose.
yeah. I'm sure we will, and there's lots of different things to look excited to. And like we got new Doctor Who as well. It's kind of getting revived. I know there won't be any break, but it's like as such that Doctor Who will get. It's kind of like a new era, isn't it? From the next Doctor on and after the
Mm.
60th, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you always get that with a new showrunner. You get a bit of a kind of reboot, don't you? It happened with Matt Smith. It happened again with Jodie. So I think they've got every opportunity to. I don't want to say reboot because it's not a reboot; it's still a continuation. But just kind of start it again, make it fresh, make it new. And I hate to say it, but make it better because it's not been great throughout Chibnall's. There's been some good stuff. Don't get me wrong, and I'm certainly one of the few people that likes the Timeless Child storyline, but it's not been the best.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'm not in the minority to say.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. The time of storyline, um, it was okay. I didn't really understand it, really.
I don't think anyone does it because they've not
um,
finished it. It does. There's still gaps, isn't there? And I think they've got a lot of work to do in this one episode they've got left if they're going to make it make sense.
yeah,
So why she dropped the fob watch into the TARDIS, I don't know. Like, that's, to me, is poor writing.
Yeah,
You know,
like yeah,
use that to finish a story. So
yeah,
is she gonna pick that out? Is it gonna become a story element? I don't know. Or are they just going to brush over it and it will just get forgotten about? Which I really hope isn't the case, because I think it's such a big story point to just be lost in the canon.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I,
it doesn't
I,
make sense to me.
I well, what I about a storyline, like I like when they finish it. They start it during the season, and maybe it could take at least two series maybe to complete.
Hmm.
Normally it's one. Like like it is annoying because like we still don't know who the future Doctor is. Joe Martin's character as the Doctor, you still don't know who she is, and you're thinking like she keep popping up, but you still don't know who she is.
I mean, she is meant to come back. It hasn't been officially confirmed, I don't think. But I met her at a little mini Comic Con thing, not far from where I live recently, and we asked her if she was coming back, and she said that she's not supposed to say, but apparently it's been leaked. So yes, she is. So I can only assume that means she's going to be back in the centenary.
Yeah,
So I'd like to think we'll find out who she is within that, but I don't know.
yeah, like I'm sure she'll be there one way or another. Like everyone's seeming to be there. Um,
Yeah, I mean that worries me as well, because how much are they trying to stuff into this? Is it an hour and a half? I think it is, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. It's that
Um,
happening.
it just I'm worried that it's going to become a bit of a mess. Um, which would be a shame, because I really want Chibnall's last episode to be good, to make him regain a little bit of
Yeah.
sanity, I guess. But I can't see it happening. I think his last episode is going to be a bit of a mess.
It is like I think like you on the trailer you can see on my that's a lot on itself on a
Hmm.
possibly 30-second trailer,
Absolutely.
and knowing that that won't be it, there'll probably be more. Like that's a trailer. If that was going to be the only people in the episode, they wouldn't have shown that trailer with those certain characters.
No, you're right.
Um because there's always going to be a surprise. Um and like I thought Kate being in it is, unless she does something, is all right, but she hasn't done anything in the episodes that she was in Flux. So it's quite disappointing, really, because I always say, like from Matt, you can tell how different she's changed her character from now,
Mm.
because she's kind of in charge, really, and then she's kind of dropped and saying to the 30th Doctor, "What can I do?"
Yeah, well, I mean, she's not, because units, as far as we're aware, has been disbanded, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I would assume she's unemployed. She's not got a job, so
Mm.
she really is just support at this point. Whereas before with Matt and Capaldi, I suppose she was able to call the shots a little bit, wasn't she, as kind of head of unit?
Yeah.
Um, but again, that why was unit disbanded? Because it wasn't a story point really, other than you've got no support to beat the Dalek. But it seems like a strange decision to disband unit.
Yeah.
But again, it looks to me like, from what I've seen of rumours and bits and pieces, that Russell T Davies has ignored that, because unit look like they're back
Yeah. Yeah.
in the 60th. So
Mm,
I guess all of
mm,
that will change.
maybe they do come into the Jodie's last episode and they just all get it comes into the 60th somehow, maybe. Um, but Russell has said that it's spectacular and it's going to be a good episode and good way to say goodbye to Jodie. So I do hope it is very. I hope it's good, because it's hard to go into an episode nowadays and be excited or like think it's going to be really good until you've actually seen it.
Mm. I mean, I try not to sort of go into an episode and think, oh, it's going to be rubbish. Low expectations. I try and go in as a Doctor Who fan, as a Whovian, and think it's a Doctor Who episode. Whether it's good or bad, I'm still going to enjoy it. But like you say, it is hard at the moment with so many of the recent episodes being just not great. For me, Flux was, I enjoyed it in the moment, but having gone back and rewatched it and kind of rethought about it, it wasn't the best. There's a whole load of plot holes, some poor writing at places. Um, you know, the latest Dalek special was poor. I thought. I don't know if you
Yeah,
agree with that, but I thought it was not good. And then Legend of the Sea Devils was at best okay, um, but again, not great. And so it's difficult now for me to say, yeah, this is the Chibnall episode, I'm going to enjoy it, because I haven't for a while. So
yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, I suppose.
yeah. Like, I agree with the Dalek episode. Like, I got bored, like, ru- running around in circles nearly the whole entire episode to try and escape from the Daleks. And I know, like, they have a deal with them, and like you have to use them once at least every year or every season. And but I don't think that means you have to, at least for the festive specials, at least you don't have to include them each time. Like I didn't. I'm not. I love the Daleks and all, but I want different monsters and or stuff in episode.
And I think that's something, I like Moffat. I don't hate him. I'm not his biggest fan, but I think that's something he got right. Is he didn't use the Daleks a great deal. His use of the Daleks in season 10 was that tiny little scene in the pilot. But that's enough. They've only got to be in the episode for a few seconds, and that counts. So you can see that that's an obvious trying to keep the right situation, but that's fine. I'd like you say, I love the Daleks. I don't need to see them for a whole episode every single year. Um, in the classic series, they were nearly phased out in Troughton's era. They decided that they were done with the Daleks forever. And we didn't see them for a couple of years, so we don't need them all the time.
No. Yeah. Well, we don't need them all the time, and like it's something that like I think we're gonna get the Master or Missy within the next era because Shooty does want a Master or Missy. um, but yeah, I don't mind that. It's just I would like to see maybe a different Time Lord or something as well.
Well, I mean, it looks like we might. Well, the Toymaker's not really a Time Lord, but it looks like we might be getting the Toymaker. But I really want the Meddling Monk back, because we've not seen him. I mean, other Big Finish he's been in, but we've not seen him since First Doctor. He's a really cool character. He's, like you say, another Time Lord. So there's plenty of there's so much scope that they could bring Romana back. There's so many options for other Time Lords. We don't just need, again, I love the Master, but it does start to be a point where he appears or she appears, and I'm like, oh, not again. But to be honest, that's been the case with the Master since Pertwee. As I said, I'm watching the classic series through at the moment, and I'm on Davison's era, and he pops up every sort of 2 or 3 episodes, and you're sort of thinking, oh, go away. But
Yeah,
that's the Master for you. He never goes away.
yeah, but they're always there some way or another. Um, it does look. I would say more likely for it to be a woman. I think if the Master did come back, I think it would be. Just by a guess. Only because when they Russell and Shitty got interviewed, and like Shitty was like, "I want a Master," and then Russell's like, or a Missy, or a Missy." So, so you kind of think, "Oh, is this could be Missy this time?"
He said he wanted. Was it Pamela Anderson? He's not Pamela Anderson. Who's the one
Oh yeah, I know who you mean. Like,
from X Files? What's her name?
but the blonde woman.
Yeah, I forget her name.
I forgot her name as well, but
But you know who I mean, yeah.
yeah, I know who you mean.
And because obviously Shooty's worked with her in Sex Education and said that he wants her as the Master. Not sure how I feel about it. Wouldn't hate it. Don't know if I'd love it, but she's a good actress.
Yeah.
I'm just a bit what's the word? Just a bit fussy about. I prefer kind of the Doctor and the Master to be British actors. I don't know if that's just me, but I just feel like it's a British show.
Hmm.
But she can certainly do a British accent, so who
You've
knows?
got Neil Bottom Harrigan, and he's American, into the for the toy maker. He's supposed to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, true. And I suppose we've had John Barrowman as Jack, as a pretty kind of key recurring character, was or is American. So
Yeah. I think he was born in England though. I
yeah,
think.
but he was born as he's Scottish, but he's lived in America most of his life. So,
Yeah, that's it. He kind of got that accent on him.
but
Yeah.
but if you see any of him on his Instagram or anything like that, and he goes back to see his parents and just sounds incredibly Scottish, and it's like, where has that come from? But
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is interesting. Like I did like the episode he was in, the first one with Jodie, well, when he found out he was coming back. I did like that one.
yeah, and, that was Chibnall at his best. What
Yeah.
or was that Chibnall's writing though, that episode?
Uh, Um,
I'm not sure if it was. I'm not sure,
it might
but
have been, don't know.
that episode is excellent. So you start to I'm asking myself the question: why do we not get more of this? Um, you know, it's fast paced. The writing makes sense. There's not as many plot holes as usual. Um, and it's you get the big reveal of both Jack, and then 20 minutes later you've got Joe, and so it's you know an exciting episode, and it's probably the best of Jodie's era for me, but we don't see enough of that.
Yeah, and they kind of ruined that with him coming back for the Christmas. No, it would have been New Year's Day episode with the
Hmm.
Dalek thing, where he was only in there a few seconds to save the Doctor, and then didn't see much of him.
Yeah, I mean, he did help. He was in it for the episode, wasn't he? He sort of helped
Yeah,
out the Dalek ship and
he was.
stuff like that. And I think we needed him. We did need him to come back properly, because in the Future of the Judoon, he's there for what, a couple of minutes.
Mm.
But yeah, I see your point. He's kind of underused to an extent. But I think it's difficult with all of the kind of you know online stuff about John Barrowman. A lot of people don't want to work with him now, do they? And all that sort of stuff, and
Yeah,
it makes for a bit of a shame, really. But makes for a kind of more awkward for the kind of BBC and for the producers to include him in these things.
yeah, it is a shame, like about that, and but yeah, it's good that like he did come back, and hopefully he can in the future, maybe at some point.
Yeah, I don't think Russell will use him now,
No.
um, which I don't think is I don't think is right. I'm not going to defend what Barron did at the time, but I think why we're bringing it up now, I don't know.
Yeah,
We've got this whole, we know what he was doing on the set of Doctor Who back in the day. It's unpleasant. He shouldn't have been doing it, but he's apologised for that. He's come out a number of times and said, "Look, I know what I've done is wrong. I'm not going to do it again. I'm sorry." And yet here we are, what, 10 years later, more, almost 15 years later, and we're still talking about it. And I just don't understand. He's been removed from. There was meant to be a Big Finish with him and Tennant coming out. Big Finish won't work with him now, nor will the BBC to most. I just don't understand it. I could get it if he'd still been doing it and if he'd been, you know, carrying it on, but he hasn't. So I think it's a little bit harsh,
yeah,
but it is what it is. I've got no control over who decides to work with him or not. So
yeah, yeah. But I think that leads it to where like the 60th, bring back whoever you can, um, old or new. And then we start fresh, bringing in new characters, new iconic characters that we'll remember 10 years later down the line. Like those kind of characters, just new ones. And I think like I said, 60th is the time to focus on old and new, or have already been in Doctor Who, and then we can focus on the new ones.
Mm. And I think, yeah, to be fair, there's not been kind of that kind of big, recurring, memorable character really since River, I don't think, is there?
No,
Other than, I guess, kind of the main companions that are traveling with the Doctor. But, do you think about people like Jack or River who sort of pop up every now and then and it's exciting when they appear? Not really had anyone like that in a while. So you're right. I think it would be nice to kind of just cut it off and let's make some new memorable characters and something new that exciting. But again, I have faith that Russell can and will do that. So I
yeah,
guess we'll see. Um, and I hope he stays on past Shooty's first series. And yeah.
oh, yeah, because I got to get a new composer as well. So that's gonna
I
be
say
good.
new. That's the only thing I do want to go back. I want Murray back.
Yeah,
Um, that's
yeah,
if Murray Gold came back, that would be more exciting than David Tennant coming back for me.
yeah,
And I'm a big David Tennant fan.
yeah.
So
Me too.
I think Murray Gold's music for me is it makes Doctor Who. I think don't get me wrong. I love some of what Sagan has done, but I don't think it's got that gravitas, if you like, that
No,
that
no,
Murray Gold stuff had.
I can't remember any of his soundtracks. And that's not me being like mean or anything. It's just that I'm not that interested in it. Like he's done a couple of good ones, like the 13th Doctor theme. I think he might have done Captain Jack's theme when he was in it, like getting it like in that little place. But yeah, like I love Murray Gold, but on the other hand, I wouldn't mind a new composer. Like I trust Russell, whatever his choice is. Like I would love it. Like you say, it'll be better. It'll be the best news to see Murray Gold back. But on the other hand, if there was a different composer, I wouldn't be gutted because I trust Russell.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely fair. I don't know how much say Russell has in that sort of stuff. I would assume he has some level of decision making on that. I don't know, but yeah, exactly the same. I trust him with a lot of things. When Shooty was announced, I'm a big fan of Sex Education. I love him in that. He's hilarious. But he wouldn't have been my first choice. He wouldn't have been the person I'd gone to. Yep, that's the Doctor. But clearly, Russell has seen something in him and has made that decision. So I can only trust him to have made that right decision, and he's done it before. People when Tennant was announced weren't sure, um, and look at where we are in regards to that. So
Yeah, like,
I guess we'll see. But I'm looking forward to him as the Doctor. I think it'll be excellent, but we'll see.
yeah. Like you can kind of see what we're watching Sex Education. Like his kind of like he's really funny and bubbly, and like he can get really serious as well.
I
Um,
mean, the most obvious kind of example is that scene where he gets beaten up as he's getting on the bus in Sex Education, and that scene it's harrowing, it's dark, and the way he responds to that in the next couple of episodes, where he's sort of depressed as a result of it. You know, although he's kind of more of a comedy actor and he's more of this kind of light-hearted, like you say, bubbly character, he can do that as well. So I think, and that's what you need for the Doctor. You need someone that is sort of this kind of nutter that's roaming around the galaxy or universe, and sort of loves life, but also somebody who has seen what he's seen. He's a war veteran, or they are a war veteran at the end of the day. So if you can do both of those things, then you can do the Doctor for me. That's what you need. But we'll see, I suppose.
yeah, it's gonna be really interesting um because like it's good that they're bringing these kind of characters into the show, making the show more diverse as well.
Mm.
With like Yasmin Finney, it's coming into like the 60th, and I hope that she would go on maybe a companion to Shooty, maybe. I, that would be nice. Because I think she is. Yeah, the character of Rose will be. I would have thought Donna's daughter. It maybe, and then could go on.
I think it. I think it looks to me like it's going to be Donna's daughter. My only concern is I don't think they'll keep her on as companion just simply because of all the extra stuff that comes with it. You've got to then contract Catherine Tate in to, appear every now and then.
Mm,
Um, I can't see them doing that.
yeah.
Um, again, same as you, I would like to think that she'll appear for more, but I just don't see it as being likely. But again, just got to wait and find out. Got over a year to wait, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It's gonna
oh,
be.
actually, it might not be as long as that because apparently there might be three, mightn't there? So.
Uh, what I think will happen is like, yeah, they've kind of said that there's going to be three specials with David Tennant and Catherine Tate.
Hmm.
But I don't think that will be it. I do feel like maybe other doctors and stuff will return. They just haven't been announced yet. Um, um, I don't know if Shooty's done any filming yet
He
with
has.
David.
There was I read something on Twitter that he's seen filming with David Tennant, which again begs the question as to who David Tennant is, because if they're both there, um,
Yeah,
is he the 10th Doctor? Is he a kind of alternate 10th Doctor? Is he 14 and Shooty's 15? There's so many kind of rumors floating around, isn't there,
yeah.
and theories.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens because I am David Tennant's my favourite Doctor, so I'm glad he's back. But I'm not as excited. I mean, I am excited that he's there because I kind of knew he would be anyway.
Hmm.
But I'm more excited to see like Catherine Tate because of course I haven't seen Catherine Tate since she lost her memories and
Hmm.
stuff. And we saw David in the 50th anyway and stuff. So I am excited to see what they do.
And I think with her coming back as well, it raises the question as to how is she back again? Because she couldn't, from what we're aware of, she can't be. So it'll be interesting to see how they go about that. And again, is she a different Donna? Is she a Donna from a different time? Are they going to find a way to rectify the mind explosion thingy? I don't know.
What I would love for memory for some like old memories from series 4 to appear.
Hmm.
Like that would be great. Like or even start the first episode or something with Donna in the scene where the 10th Doctor has taken her memories away, and then potentially like maybe the David Tennant's character, whoever that may be in the 60th, pops in and stops it or something like that.
I'm a bit. I don't want them to reverse
Hmm.
because I think that's the scene where she has her memories erased is for me one of the saddest moments.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking, and so I think it would lessen that if they find a way to kind of get around it, if that makes sense. I would prefer, maybe they temporarily get around it so that she can help the Doctor, and then she has to go back to forgetting about him. That would be okay.
Yeah.
Or like I say, maybe she's an alternate Donna, or some sort of, I don't know, from another time stream. Maybe it's something to do with what the toy maker's doing. He's meddling.
But do you remember like near end of time where like in that scene where Donna was starting to remember
Mm.
and the doctor said that would she would die if you remember, but the 10th Doctor was like she'll just sleep. So maybe it could be something to do with what happened there because she was starting to remember and then nothing was happening to her. So it
Well, because the Doctor put a defense in, didn't he? That if she did start to remember that, because there's the pulse, isn't there, where she kills the Master, or not kills the Master, but stops the Masters that are coming towards her.
yeah
And then the Doctor sort of laughs, doesn't he, and says to the Master, "Do you really think I'd leave my best friend without defense?" And I feel like that's a one-time thing, maybe.
maybe.
That's not something that, because otherwise she could just remember every 5 minutes and which would cause a little bit of chaos, I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's more than a one-time thing. I think that was written in so that she could be protected, but not necessarily be able to remember. So
Yeah, it's like it's really interesting to see what is going to happen because we're gonna be surprised whatever happens. Like you're gonna
Hmm.
think, oh, how did they do that? You always are. Um, but as we know, Doctor Who is a mystery. Like you just never know what's gonna happen.
And that's, you don't want, I know people that prefer, they prefer to know what's going to happen. They prefer to have spoilers.
Mm.
Whereas, I mean, I am guilty of looking at rumors and looking at set photos and things for Doctor Who. It's the one thing that I can't resist with. But I'd like to try and keep myself as blind as possible if I can, because that excitement when whatever it is that happens is it's unbeatable. You know what I mean? It's just so exciting. Like I remember when going back to Fugitive of the Jadoon, I was still living with my parents at the time, and my mum's a big fan of Jack. She loves Torchwood. Neither of us knew that Jack was coming back, and then when he appeared, we both went nuts because neither of us knew about it. It was exciting, and that feeling, that moment was awesome. So I would rather be able to have that than go, oh yeah, this I know what's going to come now because I've read the spoilers online.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
yeah,
it's exciting to see it all. A friend of mine explained it to me that it's exciting to go, oh, here's all these things, here's them now being confirmed in front of me, and he sees that as exciting and being able to kind of live that. It's exciting over a long period of time because he's seeing all of these things and getting hyped up. But for me, I'd rather have that little moment of, oh my god, I didn't see that coming. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. I'm like you. I'd rather all that. I said before we even got any of the announcements that I don't want to know. I don't want to know who the Doctor is. I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know David Tennant or Kevin
Mm.
Tate is confirmed because I even when John Cena come back, I knew that was going to happen. It wasn't a surprise,
Mm.
and I was a bit disappointed about that because I love him as the Master. And him coming back, I would have been surprised. Um,
I luckily still was because for what I mean, I knew he was coming back because they'd announced it beforehand, hadn't they? But for whatever reason, I don't know how I managed this, but I just didn't recognize him under the disguise for that whole episode. Didn't spot it that was him. I don't know how because it's now I've rewatched because I rewatched it 2 days ago actually. It's so obvious that it's John Sim, like the way he talks and his facial expressions. It's so clear that it's him. But when he takes off the disguise in front of Missy, the first time I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god, it's him!" Just like, so I was lucky that I still got that kind of shocked moment. But yeah, you're right. It would have been so much better if they hadn't announced it and it had been proper. Like, whoa, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
It is a shame,
as,
but I think it's difficult now because the internet spoils everything. People catch photos on sets and put it on Twitter and whatnot, and so they have to announce things because otherwise it gets leaked online, which is a real shame.
yeah, they can't stop it, and when they're filming it near where places live, like people know that they're filming,
Mm.
and they're gonna tell people, and like they can't really get out of it, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And but since watching Doctor Who since 2005, I've never really been seen this much on set photos and that for anything, and sort of
Mm.
city if you're seeing so much like you're not seeing spoilers as such. People do say it's spoilers, but it's not really like you're not really knowing what's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
okay seeing like like you say David Tennant or like Neil Patrick Harris dancing together or something like that.
Mm.
But you don't want to see any more. You don't want to see a storyline, and you if you actually go, because people go to see it, don't they? But and watch it, you may see what they're saying and stuff like that. And it can spoil for some people.
Mm. And I have to admit, if I knew that Doctor Who was filming in my local town, I have to admit I'd be first down there.
Yeah, you
Of
got to.
course you
Yeah,
would.
yeah, you
For
got
for
to.
the opportunity to meet any of the actors or to just to be able to be there to say you were there is it's tempting, isn't it? But like you say, if I would imagine if you are there, you're far more likely to be spoiled than if you just see it online. So it is a risk, but it's
Yeah,
it's one that I certainly would have to weigh up and think about because I certainly want to be there.
yeah, yeah. Because I can't really see. like David Tennant, for example, um, him come back. Uh, he might come back again at some point, but not for a while now. I don't think.
But I
Um,
think, as far as I'm aware, he's only got one more appearance in his contract, isn't he? I
has he?
think. I think he was. I don't know how true this is. I can't say I've read his contract or anything. But I think he was contracted to three more appearances after he left. Um, would this be only a second? Yeah, I think it would. So maybe he's got one more. Don't know. But either way, there's only so much in his contract. But at the same time, I guess they've only got to ask, and he's probably straight there, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He does so much now as well.
Mm.
Um, like even Matt Smith as well. Like he's done well for himself. Like with like on different shows, and I think that's what happens once you're on Doctor Who. You're not as well known, and then you do more afterwards.
Well, I think it's despite the fact that it doesn't get as many viewers as perhaps it used to, and we're not getting the kind of highs of series 3 and 4, but it's still a worldwide thing, isn't it? People know who you are. You ask someone who's never watched Doctor Who in their life to name someone who's played the Doctor, and I can guarantee they can give you David Tennant or Matt Smith or
Mm.
Jodie Whittaker. People know who the actor is, even if they don't watch it. And so yeah, I think it makes a massive difference to people's careers, and not even just people that play the Doctor. You look at people like Karen Gillan, for example, who's now in Marvel, the biggest franchise in the world. So yeah, it does make careers, absolutely.
Definitely. And that is kind of one of the reasons why I started to do this series, like a Doctor Who and Autism series, because like making it diverse as well. Like not everyone on here is autistic.
Mm.
Like you said before, that you know a little bit about it, don't you, Josh? But not awfully a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's I know a little bit about it from being a teacher and from experiencing that, and being within kind of the Doctor Who kind of sphere, if you like. It's
Yeah,
it's something, for whatever reason, there does seem to be a lot of people who are autistic that are fans of Doctor Who, and so I have a lot of friends who, as a result, are autistic, and so I kind of have learned some bits and pieces about it from that, but not being autistic myself, um, it's difficult to know
yeah,
as much as perhaps someone who is. So, but it's something that I think is really really important that we do understand more about, because it's part of a lot of people's lives. So
yeah, yeah. And like it's kind of like I have autism, and I was diagnosed when I was 9 and stuff like that. But I like the podcast I do is not generally based around Doctor Who, but I thought because I do it about autism and different kind of stuff, and not just autism in the series been raised, like you got epilepsy, dyspraxia, it's been noted in Doctor Who as well,
mm.
and all this kind of stuff, which it's really interesting because like you do learn stuff, and um, it wasn't until like recently that I did notice quite a lot of people in the Doctor Who community are autistic, and they do have autism, and I thought, okay, that is interesting, because not everyone is like is a lots of people know about Doctor Who, don't they? Like you're more or less going to say they've heard of it, but autism not as much.
Mm. I think it's becoming far more, I don't want to say common, it's becoming far more kind of commonly aware. People are more aware of it nowadays than perhaps they used to be. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. I think it's people will know what autism is, but not necessarily know what the traits of it are, perhaps, or um, kind of how how to react to or respond to it. And I think it's important that we kind of try and educate so that people do know how to react and respond. And um, I think it's a shame when you see people kind of almost patronize people with autistic, like they're some sort of like they're different, but they're not. And I think you've probably, I would imagine, had it yourself a little bit, and people patronize. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. And I think it's important to educate people that actually that's not necessary.
yeah, yeah, and especially like with autism and schools and stuff like that, it can be hard for people because myself, I went to a mainstream, then I transferred to kind of a special like school where people have autism too, and not just autism, other stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, everyone has their own different experience. Like it's not going to be the same for me than someone else.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it's like everything, everyone's different. Like not everyone's gonna like Doctor Who, unfortunately.
If
It'd be,
only, eh?
yeah, it'd be nice. But but yeah, like that helps. Like you have a special interest in Doctor Who, um, and a lot of autistic people call them like they do call them a special interest, um, but it is nice to have that like kind of that comfort where you can go to, or like if you've had a bad day.
And I do that, and so it's
Yeah.
not just an autistic thing.
No,
And
no.
I know that if I've had a bad day at work or something's gone wrong or whatever, 9 times out of 10, I'll come home and I'll stick on a David Tennant episode because I know that I can just stick it on. I know it back to front. I don't need to focus on it, but it's something that
That's it.
cheers me up and I love, and so it's absolutely that's something that a lot of people do. And for some people that might be, I don't know, a Star Wars movie or a Marvel film or whatever, reading a comic, whatever that might be. But for us, it's Doctor Who, and it's good.
Yeah, that's it, and that's why part of this series is I wanted it not just to be people who have autism, because um, like everyone has um, everyone has like interests and stuff, but maybe some people might autism they may maybe come across to people that they may like talk about it too much, and but I think that's good. Whatever way you look at it, and like having people on here that don't have it and they learn things, and like it's better when you have people who don't know about something as much,
Mm.
and you kind of educate them, and like people come on here saying they don't know much about it, and then they come off saying, "Oh, I know a bit more than I did." So
Yeah, and I think
that's
from the point of view of somebody who's kind of educating somebody else, it feels pretty good because I have the so I'm diabetic. So when people come to me and ask me, if I'm injecting or if I'm testing my blood sugars or whatever that might be, and people say, "Oh, what's that? What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" I absolutely love saying to people, "Right, well, this is what this is. This is how it works," and I love educating people because I think you get the annoying same questions over and over again, or you get the silly misconceptions that everybody seems to have, and I want to get rid of those and educate people and teach people about something that is part of my life. So absolutely, I would imagine the same for you with what you've got, and
yeah, that's it.
um, trying to get that kind of more aware.
Yeah, it's good to do that, Josh, because I have something to like a few other people because on the podcast, don't just focus it on autism, focus it on chronic illness as well.
Mm.
And because I have Crohn's disease,
Right.
um, where I talk to other people about that as well. And like I was diagnosed with that in 2017. So it's different to autism. One's a disease and one isn't. So it's and they can go along with each other as well. So, like you can find people with autism do have kind of chronic kind of things as well, like maybe chronic pain or fatigue too, because fatigue is it's not nice for anyone.
No, absolutely.
um, like you can maybe fall asleep halfway through the day if you're going out for a walk or something. So it is difficult, but yeah, it's good that you can talk about your like the things that you want to talk about because it is hard to kind of speak out about those kind of things.
I just think it's something that for me, it's I'm not one of these people that hides it. I'm not one of these people that will go and inject in the toilet or whatever. And I understand that some people prefer to do it that way. They prefer not to kind of air it, but I'll happily just sit in the middle of a in the middle of a room and just inject. I don't care. And so I think if I'm going to be that open about it, I might as well talk about it and teach people. And I do tend to find that people are generally interested. People tend to sort of they want to know and they want to learn. So I'm gonna use that enthusiasm. I'm gonna take that opportunity. Um, if I can teach somebody, you know, what it's like and what it is, then absolutely I'll do that. And
Yeah,
I would assume it's probably the same for you with autism and Crohn's as well.
yeah. Like I won't like if I have to talk about it to someone, I will. Like I don't hide it. Like I explain, which it can be tiring explaining sometimes. Although we like to do it, but it is hard because you don't want to. Um, I suppose feel like you're going on to someone about something that maybe they're not going to understand.
Mm,
But yeah, it is. I find it fun. I suppose it's kind of another hobby or interest that you have, and like you're not always going to have one interest in life, are you? You're going to have probably multiple, and
mm.
like we know Doctor Who is always going to be there. It's not going away. Um, but neither is like being diabetic or having Crohn's or autism too. Uh, so
Absolutely. And when it's just, like you say, it's not going to go away. It absolutely isn't. And if I've got to live with it, and I've got to, it's part of my as big a part of my life as it is, and same for you, then it only makes sense that the people that are closest to me and the people that I come into contact with at work or whatever are going to come across it and are going to ask questions. And so, absolutely, I'm going to tell them what the answers to those questions are.
yeah, and having having they don't stop us from doing things as well. So like I know it's been hard. Like things can make people more vulnerable to other things. Like um I take an injection every 2 weeks. Um Humira it's called. So I inject it in my thigh every 2 weeks. And I don't mind it because it's at home. Um I don't like going having injections in hospitals because I don't well I had before but I just don't like fusion for example I didn't like having them because if a person that I wasn't unfamiliar with I would get anxious like are they going to do it wrong and
Mm,
they may take longer they fiddle with it and then they say to me have you drunk and I always drink whenever I have an injection I will always drink like a liter of water or something
yeah.
because you have to like to make your blood flow and stuff. And then you get asked, "Have you drunk more?" And I said, "Yeah, I've drunk 1 liter to 2 liters of water. I don't see a problem here." And then if a person's spending like 5 minutes fiddling with trying to get a needle in, I'll be like, "Can we get someone else to do it that not being rude, not like
Mm.
knows what to do?"
Yeah, and I
um,
think it's difficult, isn't it? Because I've had those sorts of experiences myself in hospitals and things. You know that these people they're all excellent at their job. They know exactly what they're doing, but there are going to be some times where something just isn't going. It's not going right. They can't quite get it in right or whatever. I know in my job, I've been doing my job for 5 years now. There are going to be times where, for some reason, what I'm trying to teach isn't going in, or the lesson plan's gone completely wrong. And so, that's not a comment on me not being able to do my job. It's just that the circumstances have made things a little bit more difficult. And I think, absolutely that's going to happen with nurses and doctors and things. So, I see what you're saying. It's absolutely the case, and it's difficult for you as the person who just wants to get it in and get out of there. So,
yeah,
but I guess you can kind of see the other side of it, can't you? And that it's part of life sometimes that things don't go exactly to plan.
yeah.
Um, I guess as Doctor Who fans, we should know exactly what that's like because nothing ever goes to plan.
No, it's a bit of a shame, really. um, it would have been nice if things go to plan, but it's yeah, you kind of relate all these different things that we have into Doctor Who because
Mm,
they do relate quite well, and like like every person from the world has an interest, and if you want to get someone into something like Doctor Who, it's hard because they more or less won't watch it. If you say you should watch Doctor Who, and they'll be like, you should watch someone else like this, and if you don't watch that, they won't watch what you're talking about.
mm. Yeah, I've got a really close friend who I've known him for years. He's probably my closest mate, and he's not watched Doctor Who, and so for years I've been sort of saying to him, "Watch Doctor Who, watch it, give it a go. You'll like it. Try it. Go on." And he hasn't. He's always said no. But I've now managed to get him to watch a few episodes because we are thinking of doing a podcast where it's kind of like he's watching it for the first time, and then we discuss it. Me as a kind of nutty Whovian Doctor Who fan, and him as a kind of complete newbie, and kind of look at how our opinions of it differ. We haven't actually started recording anything yet or anything like that, but we want to. We'd like to in the future, but it means that I've got him to watch the first few episodes of Eccleston series. But
Yeah,
it's interesting because it's meant that I've looked at it in a slightly different way. So like the Slitheen, I'm sort of cringing at them a little bit because I'm sort of thinking, oh God, what's a non-Whovian going to think of this? Is it going to be a little bit too like ridiculous, with the farting and the the way that Slitheen are. They're a comedy, aren't they?
yeah, they are
Um,
good. Yeah,
but I'm sort of looking at him going, oh God, he's going to hate this, and it's going to make him not want to watch the show. But then I know that round the corner, the next episode is Dalek, which is completely different. It's so dark, it's so gritty, it's so much more adult almost.
yeah,
That it's kind of like you need to experience the kind of silly comedy ones to kind of appreciate the darker ones as well. So yeah, I think both sides of it see it differently.
yeah. And like you can like I think everyone has. It's always mixed opinions on Slovene, isn't it, in Doctor Who? Because people
I
like them
love them.
or you don't, and like I love them, and they haven't been in for so long, and I think Russell will bring them back. I think.
There is rumours that they're going to be back.
Yeah,
I did read something the other day, but I think with the Slovene, it's we grew up on them. I don't I'm 25 now. When it first came out, I was what 7, 8. So the Slovene at that age would have been hilarious and brilliant. And so I've then grown up with them, and that's fine. And they appeared in Sarah Jane Adventures and bits and pieces like that. But I think if you come into it as an adult, if I saw them now, for the first time, I probably would think, yeah, they're a bit silly, yeah, they're a bit ridiculous. But
mm,
that's that's kind of what happens when you've liked the show for as long as we have.
yeah. It's gonna be yeah. It's good that you'll do that in like the future, like a podcast, just watching episodes. Um, it's nice, like just to it's nice to talk about an episode because so many people have different opinions, don't they? On
Yeah,
on the show.
absolutely. I know that I'm a big fan, for example, of the Rings of Akaten from Matt Smith's era, but I know a lot of people hate it. Whereas it's one of my favourite episodes of the series as a whole. So, people have different opinions. People love things. People hate things, and I love being able to discuss different opinions. I don't like it when people argue about them and say, "Oh, your opinion's wrong. It's rubbish." But
Mhm.
being able to say, "Right, well, here's my opinion. I want to hear yours." Okay, they're different, but we both love the show for what it is, and that's why I love doing things like this because you can discuss different aspects.
Yeah, because there's no wrong or right answer, is there? Like,
Absolutely
um,
not. It's an opinion thing.
yeah, like I think that's the thing. Like, if you're in like groups, like on social media, and like if you say your opinion and people say you can't say that, you can't say that. um, it's like it's an opinion. Like I've had things like I will say the 10th Doctor Regeneration is the most saddest one out of what I've watched, and
Hmm.
people always say Peter Capaldi is like the saddest, and I understand it. People's opinions on that, but and that people don't get why you have an opinion or something, but yeah, so it's okay. We all have different opinions, but we don't have to make an argument over it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just unless your opinion is something ridiculous, in the sense something that's just completely wrong, like if you're going around saying murder's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that
when we're talking about a TV show, you know, there are some things that are, if someone said to me, "Oh, David Tennant's a bad doctor," which I have heard before, I'd be like, "What? You know,
Yeah,
what is, I can't. I'm shocked by your opinion, but that's up to, that's up to that person. If they prefer something different, that's up to them.
yeah, and you'll
I've
get
spoken.
he's overused as well, won't you, David Tennant?
But yeah, and you know what? I can see what they're saying. I know people that prefer Colin Baker and Patrick Troughton, for example, but that's their opinion. That's what they like. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody thinks the same. So, you know, I'm very much, I love Tennant. Um, if you look at my TikTok, you'll see that I love Tennant. By the way, he's the only person I really cosplay as and do videos as. But um, there are others that, I've got a friend. I don't know if you know Tina, the Eighth Doctor.
Yeah,
Um, obviously she's Eighth Doctor of Paul McGann mad, and that's her opinion. And some people hate Paul McGann or don't like that Doctor because, you know, he's not as well known perhaps as some of the others because he only did the movie. If you haven't listened to Big Finish, he's a bit of a tiny part, isn't he? So, but again, that's opinion. That's what one person likes. Another person might like something different. So
yeah, yeah, and like I think everyone will have the doctor that one doctor that you do like, and you're always going to go back to. It's not that you don't like any of the others. I think every doctor is good, but you like us, we like David Tennant, and um, it's something about what they mean to you that you may relate to them as such, um, in ways like maybe how they are as the character of the Doctor. Um, but yeah, it's just it's your opinion, and it's okay if you like a certain Doctor.
yeah, absolutely. It's no secret that kind of as you say, Tennant is very very popular. But is that actually just because he was the Doctor when the show was popular, and so a lot of people like him as a result? Is that because, like you say, it's the way that he acts? It will be different for different people. So
Yeah, like it's people may like Matt Smith more, people may like Peter Capaldi more, people may like Jodie Whittaker more.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I like every Doctor in their own little way. Um, some maybe take longer to get to like, or not like just to like Peter Capaldi, for example. His third series was the best in my opinion. Um,
Series 10.
yeah, like
Yeah,
the one with Bill.
yeah.
I don't think his first two series were that great. Um,
No, I'm exactly the same.
um, you could see it like with his acting and his performance. It's very different to his first and second.
I mean, I make no secret that I can't stand Clara. So as soon as she left, the show increased in my mind in terms of how good it was. I don't like that character at all. But I think you're right. I don't think I wouldn't say it's his acting. I'd say it's more the writing.
Yeah,
He's far more the Doctor in Series 10. In Series 8, he's so grumpy. He's actually a bit of a dick. Series 9, he starts to mellow out a bit, doesn't he? But you've still got the kind of, I don't know. Series 9 couldn't decide what they wanted to do. You've got the scene where he's on the tank with a guitar, being an absolute, and then roaming around in Davros's thing. But then you've got other scenes where he's really, really grumpy and really, really dark, like we see in Hellbent.
yeah,
So I think, but then I think season 10 gets it right. I think gets the balance right, and we see Capaldi as I'd have liked to have seen him for a bit longer. I'd have liked to have seen another series of Bill.
yeah, it'd have been nice.
I still think he was pushed. I don't think he wanted to leave.
Yeah, like
Um,
they all get this third series kind of glitch, or I suppose, like you have first series, then you're off you go. And I would like to see with Shooty, I would like more than three series. Give like with David Tennant, for example, he was so popular, like
mm,
he could have been there for 10 years, or something, could he? Because it was that loved as the Doctor, not
mm.
like not no other Doctor isn't, but at that Doctor Who was in its prime, like it was really popular. everyone was watching it. The viewing figures were really high, um, and like not that Jodie has done a bad job. She's a lovely actor. It's just the writing has let her down.
I think Jodie's, excellent, and I would love to see her appear in the 60th anniversary or come back in a few years in a multi-Doctor special and see her under a different writer, or come back into Big Finish perhaps, because I think she's got the potential to be excellent, and she was excellent. Don't get me wrong, or still is, I should say. But yeah, you're right. I think the writing was just not quite there, and that let her down.
Yeah, and like you were speaking about Clara. What I think about Clara is that I thought Matt Smith was better with her as like a companion,
Hmm.
because she kept popping up and going within Matt Smith's era, not just the series that she was only in a few episodes, like 4 or 5, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Properly with Matt, but but I did like when Peter Capaldi put a straight saying that he wasn't her boyfriend. I did like when he said that, but what I didn't like is how long she was in it. Like she was in Doctor Who, like her character Clara. She was in like 2 series with Peter Capaldi, and like I thought that was too long. Um, really.
I don't think it was the length, because I mean, if you look at Amy and Rory, they were there for 2.5 seasons, 5, 6, and 7A.
Hmm.
But I think my issue with Clara was, don't get me wrong, I like Jenna Coleman as an actress. I think she's excellent, and
Yeah.
she plays the part well. But again, it's the writing. It became at that time, it became like the Clara show.
Yeah.
And it was, for some reason she was more important than the Doctor, and she was this, she knew his name, and you know that seems wrong to me. And the whole, in was it I think it's Name of the Doctor, isn't it, where she goes and she tells the Doctor which TARDIS to pick up, and she just became too important. And then the fact that she's now out there in her own TARDIS, you know, why is Clara? Why has she got the ability to fly a TARDIS for a start off?
Yeah.
Um,
That was a bit weird.
and she's just, it, you know, why? I didn't understand. The Doctor changed. He killed somebody for Clara. That seems wrong.
Yeah, like when the Doctor's motto is that I would never use a gun, and then just
And
goes and
then
uses a gun.
shoots the commander on Gallifrey in the face. It's like
Yeah.
that's not just because he won't save Clara. It doesn't seem right. If you look back at when other companions have died, Adric, the Doctor leaves him behind and has to deal with the fact that he's died. When Rose gets stuck in the parallel universe, he probably could have gone through and ruptured a hole in time and space, but didn't because he knew the consequences. Amy and Rory again. So there's loads of examples, but then for some reason Clara was important enough. I don't. It didn't make sense to me.
No, and like it's not like like you say. I love Jenna Coleman as an actress. She's great, and her character as Clara. I did enjoy it. But I didn't. Yeah, like you said, I didn't like that. Like when she died, that was a good way to finish her story. I don't think bring her back did anything to add on to it. It just wasted time.
Thing is, Moffat did that twice as well because she died in Last Christmas as well, didn't she?
Yeah,
And that would have been because I think she was originally going to leave in Last Christmas, but she then said she wanted to stay on. Um, so that would have been a lovely way to finish her story with her growing old and the Doctor being there as she dies. That would have been really lovely. And then the Raven thing, that scene is, as much as I don't like Clara, that's a really sad, heartbreaking scene where we know that she's going to die. There's nothing the Doctor can do about it. We see her sacrifice herself. That's a really lovely scene, and they ruin it 2 episodes later by having the Doctor pull her back out of the time stream.
mm,
I'm very much, I like scenes that are emotionally charged. I like scenes that are sad and pull at the heartstrings a little bit, and so I hate it when they go back on those things.
yeah,
I think it it lessens that, and that's why I don't want them to have Donna get her memories back, because again, that scene is so heartbreaking. So to go back on that would, it'd be like Clara all over again, wouldn't it? For me,
Yeah,
anyway. That's the way I see it, at least.
yeah, like she didn't do anything. Like she didn't save anyone to earn that. Like like with Donna, like the Doctor could have easily probably solved that or something, or gone back in time with Donna. But like with Clara, like it was the word that Peter, the 12th Doctor, used the most in his time. Like Clara was the word, and you wouldn't think that's the case, um, because they all have their own catchphrase, don't they? Like each Doctor, and
Is
almost
that
like
is that an actual stat? Is it
yeah, like
the word he uses the most is Clara?
yeah, it is, yeah. Like you got David Tennant, Alan Z, Geronimo, Matt Smith, and then you got Clara, Peter Capaldi.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Um, that's interesting.
yeah, and because yeah, it is. I did like the Face of the Raven episode. I did enjoy it, even though that she did get killed off. But it kind of ruined it from bringing her back.
Mm. You know, I'm the same. Face the Raven's a really good episode. It's another one of those that's fast paced. It's the stakes are high. We see quite early on that Clara's done for. There's nothing the Doctor can do to save her. And then we follow it up with Heaven Sent, which again is incredible.
Mm.
And again, it makes Hellbent even worse for me, because we see how devastated the Doctor is by Clara's death. You know what he'll do to get out of that confession dial, and then immediately we arrive on Gallifrey, and he's like, "Right, I'm going to go and save Clara." It's like, well, you've just unwritten 2 episodes of, what. It just doesn't make sense to me why Moffat made that decision.
Like the episode after the Face of the Raven it wasn't my favorite, um, because I didn't like the fact that they spent the whole episode the Doctor trying to get out of the confession dial, um, and maybe that is a little bit of me being autistic too, because I don't like them. Like because knowing Doctor Who is they could do anything in a few seconds,
Mm.
and they spent the whole episode going around in circles. That episode reminds me of the Dalek episode, like the last one where they
Yeah,
were going around in circles trying to get out from the Dalek. It reminded me of that because he was going in circles, dying all the time, and I didn't like that. I got bored, and I was thinking I was getting dizzy as well. I was getting dizzy because he's going back and forward. I was thinking, you're the Doctor. I'm sure you can find a way to get in there in a few seconds.
mm.
What he could have done is thought about it before he maybe done it a few times. That's fine. And then thought about, hang on a minute, I'm doing the same thing over and over, and the same thing's happening.
He
Maybe I
doesn't.
can
He
do something
doesn't
else.
know though, does he? Because he gets his memories rewritten every time, so he doesn't know that he's doing it over and over again.
Yeah, true.
So I think it's clever for me. I can see why it would be that way for you, but for me it's so cleverly written in the sense that we do see it repeated, but it's necessary. Whereas with the Dalek one, it's not. It's there are we see that there are ways that they could have got out of it, and they decide not to, or they decide something else goes wrong that is just plot. Whereas with Heaven Sent, it's a case of, and I think it's so cleverly written in the sense, when we see him looking up at the stars and trying to work out how far in the future he is, and it changes every time, and so it gives us that clue that actually he's coming forward a bit more each time, or he's
Yeah.
taking longer each time.
Did, did,
Um,
did you know the Face of the Raven episode, like the Trap Street, is an actual Trap Street in real life?
yeah, well, Trap Street is a real concept, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, because there is a real one. Um, but I want to go and see it for real because it'd be quite cool. Just go on the Trap Street.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the street they use, because I think the street they use is in Cardiff, I would
Yeah,
assume.
yeah, yeah. It is in Cardiff, but they like the part where they showed London sign it. I think that bit was in London, but the actual
Hmm.
street is in Cardiff.
Yeah, interesting.
It's something that I like to do. It's another hobby of mine, going to more recently actually, just going to Doctor Who locations.
Yeah, I would like to do. I've got another friend that does a lot of that, and he's been inside Sarah Jane's house, which is very cool.
Oh,
Um,
what? Can you just go in it? Can you?
no, so he was a bit, I guess, a bit cheeky and wrote a letter to the guy that owns the house, and the guy very kindly let him come in and have a look. I think he probably gets it all the time.
Oh, no.
But yeah, he kind of let him go inside and have a look around and showed him some pictures of kind of the guy that owns the house, showed him some pictures of him with some of the cast and things like that, which is pretty cool.
I suppose when you go there, you can either just, if they're in, you can knock on the door and just say,
Can I come in?
"Yeah, can I come in?"
Yeah, I think you would have to do what my mate did and write a letter first, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
And because if you just turn up and they're kind of sat on the sofa in kind of pajamas, and they're not going to want you just roaming around their house, are they?
No, no.
But yeah, I think if people are willing to do it, I think that's a really nice thing because he didn't charge him or anything like that, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah,
That's to let a complete stranger into your house just because they're the Sarah Jane Adventures fan is it's a really kind thing to do. So
yeah, yeah. I'm sure lots of people just go out with it, have a picture outside, don't they?
oh
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like might do a little scene, or a TikTok or something. It's something I want to do. I want to do. That is on my vacation because I got for like last Christmas I got like River Songs Diary
Oh
book,
yeah.
and in there I've got all just different locations I want to go to. Like most of them are in Cardiff and Swansea.
Hmm.
Um, most recently I went to the Lazarus experiment episode.
Oh yeah.
I went to the location where they did the where David Tennant was on the piano bit.
Oh yeah. The church.
Yeah, the church.
Yeah.
Well, the guy. I stayed. I went in there. I was wearing my Doctor Who top and everything, and he's like, "Oh, like you like nice top. You like Doctor Who?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's why I'm here." Uh, and it was quite funny, because the guy I spoke to, he was like, "I was here when they filmed Doctor Who
Hmm.
back in 2006, 2007." And oh, that's pretty cool. And it's like, do you want to go up in the piano bit and have a look? And it's like, yeah, okay. So yeah, he actually let me go up there.
Hmm.
Where I think I was the second ever person to be allowed to do that in there. Um,
Amazing.
and and it's really small as well because David Tennant's quite tall, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you have to really duck, and it's a really small space. So it's quite clever because when they filmed, the camera was really high up. So that was clever. So I've been about possibly 3 locations of Doctor Who. I went to Stonehenge, but of course I couldn't go that close to that. But I did a little video there.
Yeah.
Um,
Whether Stonehenge actually really counts is
yeah,
another question, isn't it?
yeah.
But yeah,
Mm.
I'd like to do more of it. And actually, I was actually looking at this the other night because I was watching Fifth Doctor story where they're in kind of a small town. Um, and I thought to myself that could be anywhere in the country because it wasn't, they didn't start filming in Cardiff until the new series really. And so I kind of looked it up, and actually a lot of them aren't far from me. There's like a couple of little towns in places like Buckinghamshire and kind of Herefordshire and places like that that are within sort of an hour of me, would be really easy for me to go to. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's something I would like to do more as well because it's just it's people sort of say, oh, you're just at a random place in London or a random place halfway up the country, but you can as a fan of the show, you can sort of say, oh, well, I remember when this happened there and that happened over there, and so it does mean something, doesn't it?
yeah. It doesn't matter that there's no actors there. It's even better actually because you can actually go on what they
Mm.
were on too, just maybe years down the line and stuff like that. I did go to the Curse of the Black Spot episode with Matt Smith, like the location where it was, but the boat wasn't there. It got moved, but I was still at the place where it was filmed and stuff. So
Where was that filmed?
um, that was filmed in Charlestown in Cornwall.
Oh, right, okay.
So I went there because I did go on holiday.
Yeah.
It was on my list. Sometimes whenever I'm on holiday, I look any Doctor Who locations on the holiday or anywhere there. because where I live, there is no locations of Doctor Who.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's something that I want to do. Very much so. My favorite episode is the Girl on the Fireplace, so I want to go to like the gardens and places in Cardiff where that kind of filmed. Um, Kind of want to recreate the scene, when David Tennant goes out to the garden bit and sees
Oh, yeah, he's
like,
hiding behind the wall.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hiding behind the wall, and that a lot of places, that gardens place is actually filmed. A lot of places in Doctor Who, like it has a fountain where Missy was first introduced.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the scene I think in what's the name of the episode? The episode where Amy gets lost and then she's like really old and um, what's it
oh
called?
yeah, oh yeah, I know what is it, the one like with the handbox?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
They use that garden for that as well because there's the whole sort of nice serene kind of garden that she's stuck in on her own, isn't there?
yeah,
I think they use those gardens for that as well.
yeah, and I think they used it for do you know when like it was the library episode where Donna was out with the woman
Ah, yes, yeah, yeah.
in there in the fake universe
Mm.
there as well. It's quite interesting because they have all that kind of stuff there. They even have where Matt Smith and Amy's like from the 11th hour, well, that place in Cardiff too. So they've all feel a lot to visit.
But yeah, I'd like to do more of it. It's just a case of being able to go to them, isn't it? Being able to travel.
Yeah, like of course you can't do it all in one go, but as much as you can, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Sarah Jane is another one on the list. It's a good idea what your friend did though.
Absolutely.
uh, yeah, it's a very good idea. So before we go, Josh, do you have any quote from Doctor Who that you relate to?
Well, I guess not so much that I relate to, but one that I like and uh, I guess try and live by to an extent is during Capaldi's regeneration when he says, trying to find what the exact line is now, but he says, always try to be nice, but never fail to be kind. The reason I had to check that is because I was getting around the wrong way, but I think that's a really kind of good quote to live by. Try and be nice. It's not always easy to be nice, but absolutely always be kind. Like never fail to be kind because it's so important. And, it's something that a lot of people fail to do, and we need to perhaps remind ourselves to do that. And so I think it's really nice that that's kind of almost Capaldi's last words.
Yeah,
And I guess it's something that the Doctor is and lives by, and so it's something that I want to be and live by, if I
that's it.
can.
Yeah, yeah. It's like we were speaking about before, just being respectful of others' like opinions and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it is something like, but it's good to be. It's always good to be kind, even if you don't agree with a situation. Um, yeah, just and being kind to ourselves is really important too.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for that, Josh.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah,
good.
yeah. It's been good to talk about Doctor Who, autism, and and diabetes and Crohn's as well. We've spoken about too. So it's great to speak to all that lovely stuff.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it, Josh.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.